Halala, halala, halala. If you have been waiting for this moment since season 1 started, today is finally the day, because Bahumi has officially received her Lobola, and I am still shaking as I sit down to talk to you about it. So grab your tea, grab your snacks, sit down properly, because this Kwababa episode was not playing any games at all. Okay, so let's set the scene properly before we get into the juicy part, because for those who are just joining this channel for the first time, welcome, 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 make yourself comfortable, subscribe if you have not already, turn on that bell, because we recap and review Kwababa every single week, and honestly this storyline has had me on the edge of my seat for months now. So if you remember from the last few episodes, Zweleki has been trying, and I mean really trying, to prove to the Motalang family that he is serious about Bahumi. It has not been an easy road for this man at all, because between Kwababa constantly throwing spanners in the works and the family drama surrounding Lobola's true parentage, poor Zweleki has basically been fighting a war on two fronts just to get to this negotiating table. Now can we talk about Kwababa for a second, because honestly, this man has been giving me such a headache these past few episodes. Every single time it looks like things are moving forward smoothly for Zweleki and Bahumi, Kwababa finds a new way to throw doubt into the room. In today's episode, we saw him arrive late to the discussions, clearly rattled, clearly trying to compose himself, and the way the family looked at him when he walked in told me everything I needed to know. They are tired of his games. Even Mr. Mdongi, who has honestly been one of the calmer heads in all of this madness, looked him dead in the eye and basically told him to stop pretending, to stop trying to sabotage what is clearly a genuine relationship between these two young people. And listen, when an elder speaks like that in front of everyone, you know the tension in that room was thick enough to cut with a knife. But here is the thing that got me, and I need you all to pay close attention here, because the writers of this show really know how to build suspense. Just when it looked like the negotiations were going to collapse again because of all this back and forth, the family made the announcement. The wedding is happening. They released it, plain and simple, no more back and forth, no more delays, the negotiations are moving forward and Bahumi's family has accepted. When that line was delivered, I actually paused my screen because I could not believe we were finally getting here after everything this couple has been through. Now let's talk about the negotiation itself, because oh my word, the cultural richness in this scene was beautiful to watch. Zweleki stepped up and positioned himself as the lead negotiator on his side, which honestly surprised a few people watching with me, because we all expected an uncle or an older relative to take that role. But no, Zweleki wanted to show the Motalang family that he is not just some boy who is here to take their daughter, he wanted to show them that he is a man who is ready to lead, ready to represent his family with dignity. And when he stood there speaking about Ubomi, about how life brings people together for a reason, the way he carried himself had such weight to it. You could see Bahumi's aunties nodding along, clearly impressed by his composure. Of course, Kwababa was still sitting there trying to find every opportunity to push the amount higher than reasonable, trying to make things difficult, trying to see if he could get Zweleki's family to stumble financially or emotionally in front of everyone. There was a moment where the cameras cut to Bahumi's mother, and her face said it all. She was clearly uncomfortable with how far Kwababa was pushing things, and I think a lot of us watching at home were shouting at our screens for someone to just shut this man down already. Thankfully, cooler heads did prevail, because that is when Lobola stepped into the story in a way none of us expected. Let's pause on Lobola for a second, because his arc this season has honestly been one of the most emotional threads on this entire show. This is a young man who lost his father when he was still very small, who has grown up carrying questions about who he really is and where he really belongs, and in today's episode we finally started to see him take ownership of his own story instead of letting the adults around him dictate his path. When Zweleki sat him down and had that heart-to-heart with him about responsibility, about becoming a better man despite the pain of growing up without a father figure, I actually had to reach for a tissue. That scene was written so beautifully, because it was not preachy, it did not feel like a lecture, it felt like one man genuinely trying to guide another through generational pain. Zweliki told him that he cannot keep blaming his circumstances forever, that at some point he has to choose who he wants to become, and that hit different, especially for anyone watching who has gone through something similar in their own family. And then, in a twist that honestly caught a lot of viewers off guard, we learned that Mloba has decided to hand over a business opportunity, a new work contract, to the Mackay's logistics company instead of keeping it for himself. Now I know some of you are going to be confused about why this matters so much, but stick with me here, because this decision says everything about how much Mloba has grown. Here is a young man who has every reason to be bitter, every reason to hold on to opportunities for himself after everything his family has put him through, and instead he chooses generosity. He chooses to build bridges instead of burning them. Honestly, in that moment, Mloba looked like the bigger person in this entire family, and I think that is exactly what the writers wanted us to feel. Now naturally, the big question on everyone's mind after that scene was, is Akwab going to try and sabotage this business decision the same way he has tried to sabotage the Lobola negotiations? Because let's be honest, this man does not seem capable of just letting good things happen without interference. My prediction, and you all know I love making predictions on this channel, is that Akwab is going to try to manipulate the younger siblings in the family, whispering doubts into their ears, trying to convince them that Mloba does not deserve his place in the family, trying to create division wherever he can, because that has been his pattern this entire season. Watch this space, because I do not think we have seen the last of his scheming, not by a long shot. Meanwhile, let's shift gears and talk about the secret that has been hanging over this family like a dark cloud for weeks now, the truth about Mloba's real father. This has been such a slow burn storyline, and honestly some viewers in the comments have been saying it is dragging a bit too long, and look, I hear you, I really do, because we have known for a while now that Mloba's mother has been keeping this secret close to her chest, refusing to tell him the full truth even as the tension in the household keeps building. In today's episode, we got another piece of the puzzle when her own sister, in a moment of frustration during a private conversation, let something slip to her husband about whom Mloba's biological father actually is. Now this is where things get spicy, because apparently that piece of information was not something either side of the family wanted getting out, and now we have two separate households sitting on a secret that could change absolutely everything once it comes to light. I have to say, watching Mloba's mother in these scenes has been such a masterclass in acting, because you can see the guilt eating away at her every single time someone brings up his father even indirectly. She flinches, she changes the subject, she finds any excuse to leave the room, and it is honestly heartbreaking to watch because you can tell she loves her son deeply. She is just terrified of what the truth will do to their relationship and to the fragile peace the family has built. My honest opinion, and I know some of you will disagree with me in the comments, is that the family needs to just tell this boy the truth already. He deserves to know where he comes from, he deserves to make his own decisions about how he wants to handle that relationship, instead of having adults around him constantly deciding what he can and cannot know about his own life. Set him free, let the boy breathe, because carrying around unanswered questions about your own identity is one of the heaviest things a person can carry. Now back to the main event, because I promised you Lobola talk, and Lobola talk we are going to get. As the negotiations continued, there was a beautiful moment where the two families finally seemed to find common ground. The uncles on both sides stepped out to speak privately, and when they came back into the room, there was a different energy completely, softer, warmer, like the ice had finally broken between these two families who have been circling each other suspiciously for weeks. Bahumi's father stood up and made a small speech about how a celebration is coming, how the community should prepare themselves, and the way the room erupted into cheers and ululation genuinely gave me chills sitting on my couch at home. This is exactly the kind of payoff long-time viewers of this show have been waiting for. Of course, No Kwababa episode would be complete without a little bit of comic relief mixed into the emotional heaviness, and today's episode gave us that through some of the side conversations happening in the kitchen while the main negotiations were underway. The way the aunties were gossiping about the amount being discussed, joking about how expensive Bahumi apparently is according to her family, had me laughing out loud, because even in the middle of such a serious cultural process, the show never forgets to remind us that these are real families with real personalities, warmth, and humor underneath all the tension. There was also a subplot involving Mxolisi that I think deserves a mention, because his reaction to being told a certain secret and immediately being sworn to silence created its own little pocket of tension in this episode. Personally, I am a little bit torn on this storyline, because on one hand I understand why the show wants to build suspense by having characters withhold information from each other, but on the other hand, at a certain point it does start to feel like the secrets in this family are stacking up faster than they can be resolved. If you are watching along with me, let me know in the comments whether you think the secret-keeping angle is still working for you, or whether you are also starting to feel like enough is enough already. Now let's talk about what this all means going forward, because if the Lobola has officially been accepted, and if the celebration truly is coming the way Bahumi's father promised, then we are heading into wedding preparation territory very soon, and honestly I could not be more excited. This couple has been through so much, from external interference to internal family drama, and to finally see them reach this milestone feels earned in a way that a lot of soapies struggle to deliver. I do want to give credit to the writers here, because pacing a relationship storyline over an entire season without it feeling drawn out or rushed is genuinely difficult, and Kwababa has managed to keep me invested episode after episode. That said, I do not think we should get too comfortable, because this show has taught us time and time again that just when things look settled, chaos is usually right around the corner. Kwab is still out there, still scheming, still clearly unhappy about how things are unfolding, and with the paternity secret still unresolved, I would not be shocked if the writers used the excitement of the upcoming wedding as the perfect moment to drop another bombshell on this family. That seems to be the pattern with this show: give the audience a moment of pure joy, let us celebrate for an episode or two, and then pull the rug out from under us just when we least expect it. So here is my prediction for the next few episodes, and please come back and let me know in the comments if I got this right or completely wrong. I think we are going to see wedding preparations begin in earnest, with Bahumi's family fully embracing Zweleki as part of the family. I think Mlobo's generosity with that business contract is going to come back to benefit him in a big way, possibly strengthening his position within the family right when he needs it most. And I think, sooner rather than later, that secret about his real father is finally going to come out, probably in the most dramatic way possible, because that is just how this show operates, and honestly, we would not have it any other way. Before I wrap up this review, I do want to say congratulations to Bahumi and Zweleki, because even though these are fictional characters, this storyline has resonated with so many of us watching at home, whether it reminds us of our own family's Lobola process, or whether it is just genuinely well-written television that pulls at the heartstrings. Halala to this couple, halala to this family for finally reaching this beautiful milestone, and halala to the Kwababa writers for another emotionally packed episode that had me feeling absolutely everything from tension to tears to pure joy within the space of 30 minutes. If you enjoyed this review, please like this video, drop a comment telling me your honest thoughts about today's episode, and subscribe to this channel so you never miss a recap, because we will be right back here next week breaking down whatever chaos Kwababa decides to throw at us next. Until then, take care of yourselves, stay blessed, and I will see you in the next one.